Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. I'm going to talk today a little bit about using the Zakat assessment form, which some of you have probably no doubt downloaded from this site www.zakatpages.com. Okay, my name is Amal Abdul Hakim Douglas. I co-wrote the book Zakat Raising a Fallen Pillar, which you can see on your screen. I co-wrote that with Abdul Haq Bewley. So obviously a lot of what we're going to say is going to come from that book, which can be purchased from the website, the Blackstone Press website, which is www.black-stone.net/books. So that's all about the promotion. Okay, so we'll move on to looking at the looking at the book directly. Bear with me. There we go. This is the form you're looking at. It's what we call an interactive PDF. But what I'll try and do is make that a little bit bigger, make it a bit easier for everyone to see. It might be a little bit too big. Okay, for those who want to know the technical information, I'm using a program called Snaps Pro Tools, which records everything on my desktop and also the voice. And I'm doing this on an Apple Macintosh G4 laptop computer. Okay, now of course we have different types of zakat. We have the zakat on livestock animals. We have the zakat on agricultural produce. And we have the zakat on ayn, or monetary wealth. Excuse me. Now, the monetary wealth is often called the hidden wealth. Unlike the other two, the assessor, in the other two categories, the livestock and the produce, the assessors and collectors would turn up at the appointed place, at the appointed time, count and take with them what they need. When it comes to this zakat on monetary wealth, we have to rely on the honesty and integrity of the person being assessed, because it is hidden wealth. Okay, so that's why the form. So we recommend that the form is kept by the person who's being assessed. It's your own personal record, and what it is, you convey the final results to the collectors or assessors. I have zakat to pay on this amount or that amount, or I've actually worked out my zakat, exactly what I need to pay, and this many dinars, etc. And of course, if you need help, you call the assessors to help you work it out. Okay? But it's essentially your information for you to keep. They may keep, for example, a reference number, a date of collection. They may, what's essentially in these top boxes you can see me sort of showing here. Oops. Yeah, I'm going to show you. Well, that's in fact that takes us to the fact that I said this is an interactive PDF, and that first link takes you to the Zakat Pages website, which no doubt some of you have seen already. Okay, so we'll leave that there for the moment. So I'll be careful where I click, but you can see up there, just above there, it says click here for the website. Okay, category 1, it's obviously fill out name, address, place of assessment, time and date, reference, and so on. All these things are there. Money, the first category, money and savings, the obvious one. Everybody will tell you pay 2.5%, 1/40 of this as a zakat. And most people will remember, of course, that, as it says here, you have to have held that wealth for a year. Now, this would normally consist of gold and silver. These days, we have to take a jump, and we're including paper money, but at dinar value. We're seeing how many dinars that money can buy at today's rate, the rate given, and that's what we'll take it as. And there's a whole other issue around the fiqh of that, which you can get either from the book or from one of the other websites, the Zakat Pages website or the blog site. Okay, so we'd include our cash, any savings we got in any kind of saving schemes, any savings, cash, and we'd include it. If we had it for a year, we tick the box. So we'd write it here, we tick the box, and we'd give it a dinar value. Okay, and we know that we have to pay 1/40 of this as zakat. Okay. There are other things you have to take into account. Someone asked me about jewelry, and as far as I know, with the Maliki position, which I'm most familiar with, is that if you haven't worn jewelry for 1 year, then it becomes savings. You'd add it to it. So I think that's why I think traditionally many women in particular try to wear most of their jewelry as often as possible, to avoid paying zakat on it, in fact. So the savings you had for 1 year becomes zakat's payable on it, 2.5%. Other items, other things to take into account. If we look at here, if we go down a little bit, we've got section B, debts owed to you. There are two types of debt we're talking about: debts owed that you owe to people that you need to pay, and debts due to you that you need to receive. In fact, the debts that are due to you, people owe you money, should really be included in this category here at the top, but it's paid separately. We'll talk about that later. This one here, debts that you owe to people, you can actually deduct them from the amount you get, this total A. You deduct it from it. So if you owe school fees, you owe electric bills, you owe rent, for example, you can add up the total you owe, the debts that are currently due, and put it here in this total B, and essentially they will be deducted from the total here in A. So the nisab, the minimum amount we pay zakat on, is 20 dinars, which, for example, at an exchange rate of £45 to the dinar would be £900. So, for example, if you reached £1,000 here with A, so you're due to pay zakat, but then you have £400 worth of debts or something like that, this B would reduce that figure of A so much that you wouldn't have to pay zakat. Okay, if you have these debts, we say legitimate debts. I would suggest that you only list debts here that you actually intend to pay. Others said some people would only list pressing debts, but I say no. Those debts that you intend to pay. If you owe the telephone company £900 or £300 from 12 years ago and you actually have no intention of paying it, then I personally wouldn't list it here in B. Okay, but of course there is still another twist to that. If we go to C, and you see it says excess personal property. Bear in mind there is no zakat due on personal property. You know, the house that you own, that you live in, your watches, jewelry, that. There is no zakat payable on personal property. Okay, but if you have claimed, if I call it debt relief, I'll call it. If you have claimed debts here, excuse me. If you have claimed debts here in B, excuse me. Sorry, there's a cold. Yeah, if you have claimed debts here in B, then before you can claim them, we actually put in C any personal property that you have that you could sell to pay those debts. So it's not just one thing to just claim you've got debts and you owe them, but in fact, if you've got excess personal property, you've got watches and computers and cars that you could easily sell to pay the debt, then you take that C from the debt. So you take that total of C from the debt. So that may have an effect of reducing the debt or cancelling the debt altogether. So here we take here, if you look, we've got B minus C for the total in D, okay? But you can't be left with a minus. So of course, if your personal property is more than your debts, then you just put a 0 in D. Okay, so basically you cancel out the debts. The debts are not actually, then there's absolutely no need to take into account debt. And then you just deal with the total in A, and it's 2.5% or 1/40. Okay, I find that when I use it, if I put anything in B, it really does focus my mind that I have these debts. And I make an intention to try and pay them within the coming year, if you like. And also it's a reminder about the Hajj. This thing was settling your debts or making settling the debts or making appropriate arrangements before going on Hajj. Of course, this gives you an opportunity to list those debts, in fact. And we've entered the Hajj season now, of course, after Ramadan. So there you go. So it's a total of A, your savings and money. If you have debts, then you fill in B and C and then D. If not, you just ignore B, C, and D. Okay, but then it's the list of debts, take away the actual personal property you could use to pay those debts, and then you're left with a total D, or 0 to take away from the total in A. Okay, here we have a couple of more links to the Zakat pages you've already seen, the blog, the wordpress.com, and here's an email address if you need to ask questions or get in touch or tell us how we can improve the form, or perhaps you could explain something better than we can. Okay, the second category we have here, down a bit, turnover stock and business cash in hand, I call that. That's turnover stock. Now this is basically, you have a business like a shop, a market store, goods that you constantly turn over. There's a point when you take either an average over 2 days, or you choose a particular day that's not an exceptional day. So for example, not the run up to Christmas or something like that, but you choose a time, sort of a normal time, do a stock check at selling prices, normal selling prices. Unlike conventional accounting that anybody, that people may know about, where you value your stock at the purchase price, the cost price, for Zakat purposes, we value stock at the regular selling price. Okay, so you take a stock check at a particular time, you add up the cash in hand as well you have for the business, add them together, so you list them here, you know, whatever it's books you sell or shoes, whatever it is you sell here, you put a value here. Again, we convert it to dinars because we know dinars is what we're looking at for the nisab, the same nisab, 20 dinars. We list it here, and that would be our total. So it's the stock in hand at selling price and also the cash in hand. Okay, so that's the second category, and that's pretty straightforward. That's for those who have businesses. There is a second type, if you look for 3, second type of business or investments. Persian carpets is normally the example given. It's this kind of stock that doesn't sell regularly, not like a regular shop. It's stock that you tend to have sitting down for a long time, tends to be of high value. You know, if you were to buy and sell caravans or carpets or something like that, it might be slightly different. In that case, what happens is that although you'd list them here, you can list them here, but in fact, you can list the assets, but the zakat's only payable when they've been sold. Okay, the zakat's payable on those things when they've been sold. I also there include investments. Okay, obviously there could be a fine line between savings and investments, but these are investments which can include property. For example, if you buy houses to rent or to sell on, then when you sell them, you pay zakat on 2.5% of the value you sold them for. But in fact, yes. We'll stop there for the moment. Thank you. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome back. Just to sort of get back to where we were, we talked about how to fill in your money here. You put your savings here, money you saved. Here we've said we put that B, C, and D related to debts that you owed, money you owed. Okay, if you owe debts, you put it here. Again, going to dinar value. And if you had personal property that could be used to you could sell to pay off those debts, we put it here in C. And we took this total C from B, and whatever we were left with, we put in D. And if it was a minus figure, a negative figure, we made it 0. Okay, so that was fine. That was all dealing with savings, really. We've looked at the turnover stock here. You know, shops, market stores, things that you constantly turn over. And I think we concluded that it was the stock at selling price and any cash in hand. All of that together, you listed here. We've got our total E, zakat payable right there and then, 2.5% or 1/40. Investments in commercial property we were talking about. which could be houses you buy to rent, it could be other property you invest in, it could be goods that take a long time to sell, for example. You know, as you said, Persian carpets, the example, or other high value goods, maybe, you know, villas in Spain or something. Those, they are valued, but they're sold zakat, if they reach an Islam, 2.5% when sold. Okay, and then we had debts here. G, debts receivable, mean debts due to you. They're actually, this is actually linked to A, your savings, in fact, and money in hand. It's we call it current assets, I think, normally, but it's really linked to that, although we've listed it separately here, because you'd only pay the zakat on it when you receive the money, when it's been repaid to you. And again, I've got no definitive clear answer, but I would assume you'd pay 2.5% of any payment you receive. So, for example, if someone owes you £2,500 or £2,000, that, and you received it in sort of 4 equal parts of £500, I'm assuming you'd pay 2.5% of each payment, as opposed to keeping the last 2.5%, which you may never collect, you know, to pay for zakat, for example. So then we have a summary page here, but let me jump here to the dinar value. 1 Islamic gold dinar equals. Now, at the time of doing this this guide, you'd find that the price on the e-dinar site, for example, was about £41–42, but yet still the price on all the other sites where you could actually buy dinars from in the UK was around £49, £49.50. So it's that price that we'd use, the £49, because that's the likely cost it's going to cost someone to actually get a dinar. Okay, of course, who you buy dinar, it doesn't matter that you may buy dinars cheaper than that. You may have dinars in stock. You may be able to get them for £30, £35, that doesn't matter. But for calculation purposes, the person in charge has to make a decision as to what price will be used. And we have some references here to use: dinarexchange.co.uk for the UK, IGD exchange for international outside the UK, and there's edinar.com, of course. All those sites, they and you can click on the PDF and go to these pages, and so we take the higher price, and that's what we do our calculations with. So in summary, we have here, you know, your money. This is sort of pounds, dollars, euros value, but then this is the amount we're interested in dinars. Okay, and when due, when assessed. Okay, so this is the monetary category, money and savings. A minus D, we explained before. Value here, the dinar value we're interested in, 2.5% payable in dinars. Turnover stock, same thing again. We're interested in the dinar value, again payable in dinars if it reaches an nisab of 20 dinars or more in both categories. Investments and other trade goods, again, we said repayable when sold, and again we're interested in the dinar value. Something we'll have to discuss in the blog, whether it means the total goods, all the goods, your whole portfolio is worth more than the nisab, or if each item is worth more than the nisab of 20 dinars. So please make a point, if you can, of bringing that up on the blog, and we'll try and address it there. And debts receivable, we said, is actually linked to A, but listed separately here. And again, it's when payments received, that's when you pay the zakat on it. So you realize that the zakat assessment and collection is ongoing throughout the year, which is why you see that the zakat assessors and collectors can actually receive some of the zakat, because it's actually a full-time, can be a full-time job, particularly if people, if you know, include, not just here we've got the savings, but we've also got turnover stock, and then investments, and then other things, which means that throughout the year zakat needs to be collected and distributed. So that's worth bearing in mind. Okay, so I hope that's been useful. Any comments, please send it to the appropriate email address. You can get from the website or from the blog. Any questions, any comments, any suggestions, or if you have a better form which we could use, which maybe make things much easier for people. Okay? Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.